Michigan. What did you notice in terms of the way that they get looks for scouts versus the way you guys get looks for similarities and differences?
Well, they do a great job in transition, number one. They're a scary transition team. They get up the court so fast. Scouts just does a great job locating. I think the biggest thing is when you have multiple players that can dribble penetrate, it's a little bit easier to find guys for open shots. And Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway are as good as you could ask for creating shots for guys.
What exactly were your duties in scouting? Were you alone? Did you have them and the other guys on the other teams?
Yeah, we have to divvy it up.
Who had which
Pop, Redhead Louisville all year. Pop has Wichita.
So when you come back, I mean, do you give some sort of a thought to the team, or do you feed it all to Boeheim and he delivers it to the team?
A combination of everything. I think the communication is terrific between our coaches. I'll give initial impressions, and then the assistant coaches and I will talk and get together and kind of go over a game plan, and they'll relay the messages that I was able to take from the film and the study I've done on the team. They can relay it to their groups. I relay my information to my guards, and all the stuff falls back to coach. So the line of communication is terrific. It's not information overload, it's just what we need to do. We've always considered ourselves, it always starts with us. We obviously worry about our other team, but it starts with us and what we like to do and what we like to take.
Do you watch an equal combination of tape when the team has won and lost? How do you pick the games that you want to look at most?
Well, I watch as much as I can, to be honest. Obviously, with our system going, you have to watch a little bit more again. I do like to watch the last 5 games. I get a feel for how we're playing as of lately. A lot goes into it. Really, this week has just been how much film can I watch? How much can I cram in? Well, I have my son with me too, so not a whole bunch.
Gerry, when you compare, I know that their positions now and Trey, but they're both elite players who are carrying their team deep in the tournament. Is there some similarities either with their, I guess, in the mentality or the way you see them operate within a game, what a great player does to carry his team?
Trey Burke's a tough kid. He rises to the occasion. The shot he hit against Campbell was as deep a three as I've watched this year. He hit it in a crucial moment. I think the biggest thing with him is he wants to make game-winning plays. Anytime I've watched him play, and it's a close, tight game, he wants the ball. And Melo was really similar to that. I was like that toward the end of my career when Melo wasn't around to take it from my hand. The kid's got a will to win. We feel like we have guys like that will try to put us in this position as well. And whenever you have a really, really talented player like Trey Burke is, but he's got that attitude of being a winner, I think it's infectious.
Melo was a freshman versus sophomore. Being young, so that's not really defined by a veteran necessarily. Some guys can transcend the age thing.
When you're good, you're good. I don't care how old you are. When you're a good player, you're a good player. I think the biggest thing is what separates certain people from others is their attitude, their belief in themselves. There's a lot of good players that don't know how good they are or question themselves a little bit. I think the great ones separate themselves because they have the attitude of, I know I'm great. I'm going to go out and impact the game the way I know I can.
Can you quantify the Michigan thing in terms of how much time, either in time or games? What have you done in scouting in terms of number of hours and number of games?
I don't know. I watch games, and I watch as much as I can. I incorporate, what we do and what I think, and do my best as far as the personnel standpoint of what their tendencies are.
But you don't go back to their games in November or December, do you?
Sure. Yeah, I watch as much as I can. Yeah.
So you've seen games for a whole bit. They've played 40-ish games. You've seen
right. I've seen as much as I can.
Gerry's been talking to Nolan Hart and said he's worked this week in practice. Does he have to watch a little extra film or something when you're running a scout team?
Nolan Hart's a great player, but people say they can't simulate our zone. Nolan Hart can't simulate Trey Burke. So as good as a player, as much as he helps us, watching film isn't going to be able. He's not going to all of a sudden be able to do it. Trey Burke is as good as there is, and he does a great job of breaking down defenses and living in the paint area and creating plays not only for himself but his teammates. So, I tell him knowing what he likes to do, it doesn't necessarily mean he's able to do all of it.
And when you look at your defense, how much of it do you think physically takes teams out of the game, and how much does it get into their heads? How much of a role does that play?
Well, I think it depends on how you defend throughout a game. If the team comes out and they make shots early and they're feeling good about themselves, maybe it impacts them in a positive way. If they miss a few shots, maybe they're thinking about it. I don't quite know how it affects them mentally. The only thing I know is when we're active and we force shooters off the spots and we force them into certain angles and situations where we can be aggressive. It's a big part of our success. So, the biggest thing is getting off to a good start. I think we've really limited open shots in this tournament. That's what we do. And, when the ball's gotten into the high post, our centers and our forwards have done a great job of protecting the middle of the paint. And if we can do that, hopefully we put ourselves in a good position.
Gerry, you've been to the other side of this Final Four. These guys haven't. Have you say anything to them? Will you say anything to them? Has anybody tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Hey, what's it like over there?"
No one's necessarily. You experience it. I think the biggest thing is there doesn't need to be any extra motivation to this point. The only thing I said after practice, we always get together after groups, is I usually have some words of encouragement or what we need to do the following day. The only thing I said yesterday was look at where you are. You don't need any extra motivation. Look at the stage you're on. You're on the biggest platform there is in your sport. So, you get to this point, it's a lot of fun. You certainly want to soak it all up, but you want to win. That's the ultimate goal, and that's why we're here.
When you ran that stage back then, 10 years ago, when somebody said to you, by word or deed, "Hey, look around," did you look around, and what did you remember feeling when you looked around?
Well, we were focused. I look at this team the same way. We were focused. I didn't do much. You're in New Orleans. There's certainly a lot to do in that city. The only place I went was across the street to foot action. That's kind of how my mindset was. I was focused on the task at hand. I think our guys, for the most part, have done that. They go to the mall a little bit, which is right across the street, get something to eat, hang out, and joke around. But I think they've remained pretty focused on what our task is here.
Gerry, I know you oversee the guards in this team. The guys that aren't getting a lot of minutes, what do you expect out of them, guys like Nolan now?
Everything. Those guys mean so much to what we do in our preparation. Kid Mike Benajay, our transfer from Duke, what they do for from a preparation standpoint. I've demanded a lot, certainly from our walk-ons, which I really appreciate, to be honest. These guys work every day, and they don't get quite enough credit as they probably should. They're expected to play against guys that are leading your team in the Final Four, which are really good players, and they've held their own every day. It's a tribute to how hard they've worked and the position they put themselves in through their work ethic. And I treat those guys like I treat Michael Carter-Williams or Brandon Trish or Trevor Cooney or Mike Benajay. I treat our walk-ons the same. They're going to get yelled at. And certainly going to be praised when they do something right. It's the way I coach. I treat everybody the same, and you got to credit them. They've done a phenomenal job for us from the preparation standpoint.
Gerry, offensively, is this to you, the toughest team that potentially you're going to face this season from what you've seen and from what you know?
I think it's the best offensive team we've faced to this point in the year.
We have 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
I
4
think
minutes.
with the emergence of Mitch McGarry as of late, certainly since he's been in the starting lineup, averaging 17.5 and 11.5 in the tournament, it takes them to a different level. With Trey Burke, I think it starts. He's the head of the snake, and all 5 of their guys from their starters are averaging double figures in this tournament. And I think from an offensive standpoint, when you have a guy like Burke with weapons around him, it always makes that team dangerous.
Let's say you cut off the head of the snake. Looking at Mitch McGarry and the fact that he can pass the ball so well from inside. Just talk about that offense and how this 2-3 zone is really going to have to move because there's so many shooters on the team besides Burke.
Mitch McGarry is probably the best outlet passer I've seen, probably since Kevin Love. When Kevin Love came out, he's as good an outlet passer as there is in college basketball. So he can start their break, which they're great at. So he does a great job when there's cutters. Kid Robinson does a phenomenal job along the baseline. And when McGarry catches the ball in the high post, because he is such a good passer, it's always an option of dumping it down to Robinson. So they have weapons. Regardless if Trey Burke comes out and plays well or not, there's weapons around him. It's not just him. He just does such a great job for them. He can control the game in many different ways, whether it be scoring or creating shots for his teammates. But it's going to be no different than what we faced all year as far as covering shooters, moving them off spots, and protecting our paint. If we could do those things like we did against Indiana, like we did against Marquette, we hope that we're in a position at the end of the game to win it.
Gerry, how would you describe Mike?